Hi and welcome to the Paint Pod. Today I'm just going to quickly run through some of the cleaners etc. that I use with my airbrush. First of all, I'll start on the right hand side because this is actually probably one of the most important ones. So this is Tamiya X20A thinner. For a start, don't buy this in the little mini pots because that works out to be incredibly expensive. It is worth shelling out the £5 or £6 for the bigger bottle. It works out much better in the long run. The reason this is so important is that Tamiyas are acrylics, but they're solvent based rather than water based. These thinners and cleaners, these are for water based acrylics. So if you try using these with Tamiya, it all gunks up, it doesn't end well. So it's very simple. If you're airbrushing a Tamiya colour, you must use the X20A thinner. The isopropyl alcohol at the left hand side here, this is a general purpose cleaner. You can use this with anything. I tend to use this sort of second to last when I'm cleaning out a colour or just generally cleaning my airbrush. It's a fantastic thing for cleaning in general. The only downside with it is that because it's alcohol, it can dry out and strip the little rubber seals that you might have at various parts internally in your airbrush. So therefore, it's always best to finish off with something like an airbrush cleaner, because these tend to have a little bit of lubricant in them, so that the final stage of cleaning out your airbrush, you're leaving a bit of lubricant back on those seals, and it just means that they'll last a bit longer. The airbrush thinner, well, of course, that's for the paint. I have tried flow improvers and flow retarders. To be honest, I think unless you're using something like a metallic with a very heavy pigment or some kind of paint that might dry very, very quickly, you're not really going to need to use those for most paints. The airbrush thinner is going to be absolutely fine, and I tend to use that for most applications in a 50-50 ratio with the paint. But it's one of those things where you've just got to really try it, see how it goes with whatever paint you're using, and find the right mix for yourselves. And then finally, at the bottom here, we've got some Badger needle juice. This I find really good for clear. It's probably the best thing when you remove the needle and you've got some dried paint on it. This really does do two things. First of all, it cleans off the paint fantastically, although that's not really what it's marketed for. It's more the lubricant for the needle, but I find it does a fantastic job of both. Just the other week, I was finding that the trigger on my airbrush was sticking at the back a little bit when I was pulling it back. Took the needle out, one application of this, worked very smoothly indeed, and it's been fine absolutely since. So this is really, really good. It's a little bit expensive, it's a little bit hard to get from what I can find, but most of these you can get on Amazon. The airbrush cleaners, you can see both of the ones that I've got here, also the airbrush cleaner and the thinner, they're both Vallejo. That's purely because that's what was cheapest on Amazon at the time. There are other manufacturers like Medea. To be honest, I'd probably just have a look on Amazon, see what's the cheapest. They're all much of a muchness, so save yourselves a bit of money, because obviously this hobby's expensive anyway, and go for the cheapest decent brand available at the time. Well, I hope you found that useful. If you have, please head over to Patreon. I've got plenty more videos coming on there. Membership just starts from $1 a month, and hopefully you'll find that there's even more useful videos on there for you. Thank you very much.